Welcome everyone to the Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narotamam Devim sarasvatim vyasam Tato jayamudirayet Nashte prayeshva bhadreshu Nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke Bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. So we're reading today we continue reading from second canto, chapter 9, and it takes 36. So we'll recite Sanskrit again, just few of us, a few times, and then we will go to almost to the end of the purport. Etāvad eva jijñāsyaṁ tattva-jijñāsunātmanaḥ anvaya-vyatirekābhyāṁ syāt sarvatra sarvadā etāvad eva jijñāsyam tattva-jijñāsunātmanaḥ anvaya-vyatirekābhyāṁ syāt sarvatra sarvadā etāvad eva jijñāsyam tattva-jijñāsunātmanaḥ anvaya-vyatirekābhyāṁ syāt sarvatra sarvadā. Anyone would like to chant? Etāvad eva jijñāsyam tattva-jijñāsunātmanaḥ anvaya-vyatirekābhyāṁ syāt sarvatra sarvadā etāvad eva jijñāsyam tattva-jijñāsunātmanaḥ anvaya-vyatirekābhyāṁ syāt sarvatra sarvadā etāvad eva jijñāsyam tattva-jijñāsunātmanaḥ anvaya-vyatirekābhyāṁ syāt sarvatra sarvadā etāvad eva jijñāsyaṁ tattva-jijñāsunātmanaḥ anvaya-vyatirekābhyāṁ syāt sarvatra sarvadā. Madri, are we doing word for word? We already memorized it, okay. Translation. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. There is a mistake. It must instead of must. Do you want to repeat the verse? A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. So we start from it's almost the end of the purport, where it starts even during the annihilation of the material world. Purport. Even during the annihilation of the material world, the process of bhakti yoga can be applied. Kalina nashta pralaye vanyam. The Lord is worshipped in devastation because he protects the Vedas from being annihilated. He is worshipped in every millennium or yuga, as it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.52. Kritaya dhyayato vishnum tretayam dhyajato makai dvapare paricharyayam kalau tadhari kirtanat. In the Vishnu Purana it is written, Sahanistan mahachidram samohasa cha vibhramaha yan muhuratam kshanam vapi vasudevam nachintayet. Quote, if even for a moment remembrance of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is missed, that is the greatest loss, that is the greatest illusion, and that is the greatest anomaly. End of quote. The Lord can be worshipped in all stages of life. For instance, even in the wombs of their mothers, Maharaj Prahlad and Maharaj Parikshit worshipped the Lord. Even in his very childhood, at the age of only 5 years, Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the Lord. Even in full youth, Maharaj Ambarish worshipped the Lord. And even at the last stage of his frustration and old age, Maharaj Dhritarashtra worshipped the Lord. Ajamil worshipped the Lord even at the point of death. And Chitraketu worshipped the Lord even in heaven and in hell. In the Narasimha Purana, it is said that as the hellish inhabitants began to chant the holy name of the Lord, they began to be elevated from hell towards heaven. Durasa Muni has also supported this view. Muchita yan nam nudite narakopi. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, the inhabitants of hell became released from their hellish persecution. So the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam, as given by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, is Etannirvidyamananam Ichhatam akuto bhayam yoginam nripa nirnitam harinama nukirtanam. O king, it is finally decided that everyone, namely those in the renounced order of life, the mystics, and the enjoyers of fruitive work, should chant the holy name of the Lord fearlessly to achieve the desired success in their pursuits. It's from Bhagavatam 2.1.11. Similarly, as indicated indirectly in various places in the revealed scriptures. 1. Yeah. Till the end of this list. Even though one is well versed in all the Vedas and scriptures, if one is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, he is considered to be the lowest of mankind. Second one. In the Garuda Purana, Brihanaradiya Purana, and Padma Purana, the same is repeated. What is the use of Vedic knowledge and penances for one who is devoid of devotional service to the Lord? Number 3. What is the comparison of thousands of Prajapatis to one devotee of the Lord? 4. Shukadeva Goswami said that neither the ascetic, nor one who is greatly munificent, nor one who is famous, nor the great philosopher, nor the great occultist, nor anyone else can achieve the desired result without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Number 5. Even if a place is more glorious than heaven, if there is no glorification of the Lord of Vaikuntha or his pure devotee, it should at once be quitted. 6. The pure devotee refuses to accept all the 5 different types of liberation in order to be engaged in the service of the Lord. That's it. We can chant prayers all together. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Gyana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale svayam rupa kadhamayam dadati svapadantikam vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijata Sahitam Shri Chaitanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priyam Vanja Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I would like to ask for blessings from all the senior devotees here. Jagamohini, Bhagavad Gita Prabhu, Madhamadri, Shameshwari, everyone. Please, may I speak something in line with Shastra and beneficial to everyone, so you can use it. So, this verse is very inspiring. I don't think I ever read it as deeply before. I've heard that how we can raise our reading, like our attention while we're reading, is that when you read something, you have to think that you would give a class on this verse, or you would have to explain it to someone. So in this way, your attention will go into what you're reading actually, and you will think, how would you explain it? So I used it yesterday. I use it all the time, not all the time. So this verse is very inspiring. All the different parts what devotees already were given classes on. It just says how, like, no matter which position you are in, who you are, even for dogs, for animals, just the glorious of the holy name, how powerful it is and how accessible it is to everyone. And this particular part of the purport says, which we just read, that it again gives this qualification that anyone in any stage of your life can get engaged in the service of the Lord. And it gives, of course, very nice examples of saintly people from Srimad Bhagavatam, how they did it. And of course, we can follow their footsteps. And we'll never get disappointed if we follow in the footsteps of the senior devotees and Vaishnavas, like mentioned above. So, Prahlad Maharaj and Maharaj Parikshit, they were worshipping Lord in the mother's womb. Well, I was just thinking about different traditions what Vaishnavas have nowadays, that, our kids might be not as exalted as Maharaj Parikshit in the womb or Maharaj Prahlad, but still we can, it depends on seniors, right, to give us, so we are responsible to give this knowledge to anyone, and it doesn't depend on age. We can give even to someone who is in the womb or for someone who is about to die, right, like devotees do chaplaincy and all these things. And there is a tradition, I know at least in some temples, in some communities, that devotees, when they find out that they are pregnant, they start eating Srimad Bhagavatam every single day to the baby in the womb. So this is following in the steps of Maharaj Prahlad, where he heard everything through from Narada Muni, right? From Narada Muni. He wasn't even born, so he was just teaching his mom, and he heard everything. and his mom even could remember everything, but Maharaj Prahlad, he could. And it's very inspiring for us. So I calculated it already. It's 55 pages every day you can read to finish Srimad Bhagavatam in 9 months. Very inspiring. And your child will come out self-realized soul. At least, we can pray for that. And another example about Dhruva Maharaj, who was 5 years old. And we know all this. We all know the story how he got insulted. I just read recently over there next to Jagannath room. We put up the picture with a small short story, how the cursing words can actually become a blessing. Right? That's what happened in the story of Maharaj Dhruva. And instead of being, depressed or something like that, he just decided to dedicate his life to the Lord. 5-year-old boy. It's pretty amazing. So there is no limits. And again, where did it come from? From authorities, people who he trusted, who he respected. They told him to do it. And so we just have to, really kind of open our mind and consciousness for these instructions. And whatever Lord gives us, any situations, use these situations to really increase our hearing in chanting, and then see what comes out of it. That's all we can do. Another examples here, in the middle of Maharaj Ambarish was extremely exalted person. He just dedicated everything, every sense, hearing, looking at the Lord, touching, right, smelling, all the senses, walking. He was completely engaged in the Lord, even though he was a king and he had all different opulences. He didn't care about anything else. So, and Maharaj Dhritarashtra, it's a very good example because all his life he basically was wasting his time by being too attached to his sons and completely neglected all good advice of seniors and learned people. But then at the end, right, he could actually realize at least, and then he became liberated. Sometimes we might think that I heard Srila Prabhupada is saying that when he would talk to younger people, right, they would say that it's not time for me yet to do spiritual life. It's something what older people do when they have nothing to do anymore, when they're retired or something. Yeah, let me practice spiritual life. And unfortunately, it's seen in many religious paths when people. We were just talking yesterday with one of my friends, and we were talking about how it's very superficial. People go to church, people go to mosques, people go to temples, but it's only it's not really deep. If someone becomes really engaged in it, it becomes kind of fanaticism. All the people around, relatives, they become scared. We were just discussing our mutual experience, how we join Krishna consciousness. And if it's a little bit, then it's fine. You are a religious person, everything is good. But if you really start doing more than little bit, praying before, offering the food, praying before you eat food, or just praying, then you become a little bit fanatical, so-called fanatical. So it's... You called. Yeah, you called. Yes. Well, in their vision, you become fanatical. That's what I mean. And so there is the idea that spiritual life, it's a part of your real life, which is not exactly the culture of Vaishnavism. So in our culture, ideally, what we should strive for, it's to organize our lives around hearing and chanting, not the other way around. That, okay, I'm working, teaching, I'm doing this and this and that, and then I'm chanting somewhere on the side. So we should organize our life around this, around chanting and hearing. This is the main thing what I do in this life. and everything else is the rest. I'm working, I'm supporting my family, I'm raising my kids, and it may look differently outwardly and inwardly, of course. we have to be very careful how we do it. There are things like affection and love and care, genuine care for others. It just like in your heart, you have to know the goal of life. And this purport talks about how people don't know what the goal of life is. If we, like jiva, soul, another name for jiva, tatashta shakti, which means marginal. Marginal means in between spiritual energy and material energy. And also it can be called marginal energy. It's open for suggestions, right? So jivas are open for suggestions. When we see some kind of advertisement which tells us, Coca-Cola, open the bottle of happiness. Right? I start thinking, maybe it is happiness. That's nice. Yeah, I mean, that's what it says, right? And if I don't know anything better, I would go for it, right? Because this is what it says. I see it, open bottle of happiness. Let me open this bottle and find happiness. And then I do it, but actually, happiness lasts only until all the gas comes out. That's it, no more happiness. And then all different diseases come. And then we heard that with Coca-Cola, you can, it's not the misadvertisement, but you can clean the toilets and things like that. So it's very strong. So it's not good at all. Isn't happiness? Not really. But because I don't know anything better, I would go for it. Or any kind of things we see, right? Different, cars, houses, or even our desires, right? If I don't know anything better, all I desire, to get a car, to get married, to have the best spouse in the world, right? And it's not bad to desire it, but if it's all in all, this is a little bit limited. But again, if I don't know anything better, if I'm in ignorance, right, this will be the best thing what I want. And I truly think that if I only get this thing, I'll be completely happy. If only this thing, that's it. Right? But we see it in our own example, we see it in other people, in very rich people, that they get everything what you want, or you meet people who actually found the best spouse, and then another stage comes, right? How to deal with all these things. So it's pretty amazing because it's not, it doesn't really satisfy us as we think it would satisfy us. But again, we don't know what's better for us because it's ignorance. And once we learn that the real goal of life is to become self-realized, to chant the holy name of God, to develop our relationship with Krishna, with God, then everything becomes different. Everything, because this goal, if you think about it, it comes, like we know from Damodar Lila, that you have to do your part, but ultimately it doesn't depend on you, right? You have to do the job. It's somewhere in the purport. It also says that. Let me see here. I think Bhanubhata Prabhu was talking about earnestness, right? That you have to really desire it. You have to have this strong conviction. And also in other part of the purport it says, I put it somewhere, but I can't find it. So basically you have to, it's a labor. Oh yeah, you cannot get it without labor and perseverance. So it comes, if comparing with some material things, right, what we want, well, so-called material. Once you engaged in Lord's service, it doesn't become material. But I would say, I just rely on myself. If we want to get a house, I want to get a car, it's, I just have to work. I work and work and work, I get money, and then I get it, right? I become dependent on myself. But in this case, when we have spiritual desires, we're aware that we do our part, but we have to become detached from our desires and just give it to the Lord. Whatever He desires, if He desires, He will fulfill it. If not, then He'll make you happy even without this thing. Like that. So, and so this is this point about that we open for suggestions. It's very relevant for book distribution, what we do, because people, again, right? People going everywhere. They look for things. They look what will make them happy. And when we distribute books, we actually give a suggestion to a person. Here, try this one. Maybe it will help. we know that it will, right? It will change person's lives, but the person doesn't. But because we open for suggestions, right? A person will take a book and it will change his or her life. And that's why Sankirtan is extremely important in this case, that otherwise how people would know. It's kind of interesting, the life is going. When I was younger, I was traveling all over the Europe and I was thinking, wow, I'm completely happy. I'm really smart. I'm really nice. I'm really beautiful. Everything is amazing. And I really was thinking like that because I didn't know anything better. And now, looking back, I'm thinking, wow, such an ignorance. Such an ignorance, really. But also I'm thinking, like, in next 10 years, maybe I'll think, wow, I was thinking, I could do a lot. But actually, so we know something in particular time frame, right? And it kind of seems that when we discover new things, it kind of seems that, wow, I'm all powerful and I really like to learn about something new and I can use it, in relation with other people, to myself. And then time passes and then you realize that, wow, I didn't know anything about it. So, and the same thing about our just state of mind. People really happy in ignorance sometimes. They're really happy, buying all these different things, just go on with their material desires. But then once they get a book, it completely changes their perspective on life. If they open. Well, at least we try. Our thing is just try. Krishna will do the work. Time bombs. And I lost my thought but anyway, yeah. So, and there is there's another part of the purport I wanted to bring it up. It also says how it's important to oh yeah, something else I want to add to this topic, that it's also another part of purport, that how we getting into this circle on birth and death through our subtle mind, through our material desires, because we don't know better, we just go for these desires. And in this case, we develop attachment to these desires through the mind, and how we create our future body through the mind, through our desires. And in this case, through how we create our future body in a future life, like in the next life, it's through our desires and through what our mind attached to. And if yeah, everything. Well, what you're thinking about, you will act on it most likely. Thinking, willing, what is it? Thinking, willing. Oh, thinking, feeling. No, thinking, willing, feeling, and acting, right? Like that. So whatever you think about, you will go for it at some point. And if we don't know better, we just keep creating these bodies, life after life, life after life. And once we get in contact with the holy name, it changes everything. I think it's pretty amazing. And especially this purport says that we don't even have to have any, you can do it anytime, anywhere. There is no rules, really, like strict rules to chant the holy name. It's pretty amazing, very accessible. And still we don't do it. How strange. Let's see what else. Do we have any thoughts on this? We can. This is your question, Mati? Why we can do it? Well, as devotees, it works anyway on us because we are chanting. You know, like why you are in Krishna consciousness, because you have some kind of faith. We can claim, yeah, I have no faith, I have no devotion, nothing, but you live in a temple for some reason. You know, if you have no devotion, no faith, then, you know, what keeps you here? Something is there. Definitely something is there, and we just have to increase it. And I found this very practical way to increase it through gratitude. When we're grateful to what we had, what we have right now, and if we compare with who we were before we come into Krishna consciousness, or before even realizing many things, right? Maybe analyzing sometimes how I would act on particular situation before this, you know, before I learned this knowledge, and now it makes me feel humble and grateful for things. And then, because it's natural for us, for human beings, to, when we get something, when we have something for a long time, we start taking for granted. This is not a secret. We're all experiencing it, probably. But then, you see, like holy name is ever expanding, ever new. I was just reading yesterday Nectar of Devotion, Krishna's qualities. He is ever expanding. He's always new. There is no way, you know, you can just chant the name and I'm like, oh, okay, I already read it, I already done it, I already, you know, I know. Yeah, it just means, Lord, please engage me in your service, in your loving service. That's it. I know about it. So it's our attitude, how we see it, because it's ever expanding. With every single mantra, we can find something new there, and expand our own consciousness and our own gratitude. But for this, it requires our full attention to the holy name. Full attention means hearing, right? Hearing when we chant attentively. And I even have different experience, obviously, you know, when I really chant attentively. I just have so much gratitude. Changes, it makes your whole day different. What else? Attitude of gratitude.
Remind, like me, to use
No
the
points
mic.
for not using mine.
I was listening yesterday, and I was like, whenever I was listening to the online, and they were not using the mic. Mm-hmm. So there is like 15 people on the line, so and this actually works better than yours. I could hear the people who use this mic much better than the speaker. It's louder.
No, usually people would repeat the question. The speaker would repeat the question.
Right, no not mic. In here. I mean, you can remind them, but but remind the people like me. Anyone? Because I spoke. So another else would like to say something.
Hare Krishna, thanks
Hare
for
Krishna.
A really nice, wonderful class to remind us of Krishna. And my thoughts were actually chanting, as we're chanting. I'm just hearing Prabhupada's classes, you know, and he's always reminding us that, you know, Krishna is a person. and that person we're trying to have a relationship with through the holy name, through our activities amongst ourselves with devotees, non-devotees, to actually help us grow in our Krishna consciousness. Actually, it's very nice being around devotees. The temple president in London would always say, because I would say, I have to tolerate this person, and he says, I have to tolerate this person, and he goes, they have to tolerate you. And I'm like, yeah, they do have to tolerate me a lot. So, and he gave the example of actually being in a big washing machine. And so when we're in this washing machine of, devotees, there's gonna be some, like smoothing of edges. That's what he would say. So it reminded me of thank you for reminding me of my position and trying to approach the holy name in a more humble state of mind and more attentive, because a lot of the time I'm like, my mind goes here and it goes there, and so I learn to be more attentive in my chanting.
Yeah, thank you. Nice point. I think also Srila Prabhupada was mentioning that devotees are, like in one temple, it's like if you have a bag with stones, you just put them together and then you start, doing like this, and then all the stones come out very nice, no sharp angles anywhere, like very nice and smooth. Rocks, yeah, rocks. Yeah, it's nice also, I like when you said how, when I'm thinking, why I'm going through this situation, I have to tolerate this or this. And if I think about myself, that some people have to tolerate me and all these different things, what I do, that's changes my focus to become a better person towards someone. That's nice.
So, if you're doing things right, it should come out that after 10 years and you look back, because you mentioned that when you look back on your previous life, you were like, not so good. It should be here, though, that when you look back after 10 years or so, you should be feeling that was the best time in my entire life. That was the best decision I ever made. That's the way it went for me. Focus on your spiritual master, Lord Krishna, and your service, and don't make this whole experience about all kinds of different personalities. Sure, devotee relations are wonderful. It's a very, very nice thing, but like she was pointing out, there'll be difficulties with this one or that one, and we don't want to get caught up in thinking that this is the most important thing, the difficulty that we may have for this one or that one. So make it about your focus on your service mostly. Your service mostly. That's what I did. And so after I left out from living a life in the temple, I always would tell anybody who ever was talking about my Krishna consciousness experience, that was always, always the forefront in my mind, that was the best experience in my life. It was so wonderful. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I predict that that's probably the way things are going to go, if you're doing things right. And if you leave out of here and it doesn't come out that way, I would say that we're probably at fault for that to the biggest extent, because we lost our focus on what was really, really important. And it's hard to keep that, but I offer you that advice. Your service, Lord Krishna, Guru, your own spiritual development, your own internal spiritual development, make those things the most important thing, and I think everything else will work out all right. And there was something else I was going to say, but I can't think of it right now. Okay, thanks. There you go.
Thank you. I like that. It's very, Bhagavad Gita Prabhu always gives very personal. He remembers personal things, and he also gives personal things. Like I know Prabhu, your class is also very personal, from your own experience, and thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Nice advice. Keep the main thing the main thing. Parmeshwari.
Haribo, thank you
Haribo.
for your class. Unfortunately, I reached late for my service. I want to read something. You are talking about relationship and investments. This is very nice. I like about Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, and he's telling something, 4 principles for community building. And 1, treat everyone you encounter as if the success or failure of your spiritual life depends on the quality of your interactions with them. 2, think of the person you love the most and aspire to treat everyone with that same quality of love. 3, view all conflicts as your own fault first. And 4, realize that people in your present environment may very well be the people with who you will live out your life and who are likely to be with you at the time of death. So I like so much this quote, because actually the people we are surrounded, we desire one day we left, and we left in association of devotees, make us remember Krishna, chanting the holy names. So I always like to read these quotes because they are very nice.
Yeah, they're very nice indeed. Thank you for reminding. I read it some time ago. Thank you. Wow. I like the first one a lot. That your advancement depends on this person's well-being and spiritual progress. How would we act towards each other, right? If I really think about it. Wow.
Do you remember your Guru Maharaj saying anything? What makes one person open for suggestions and versus somebody who might not be open, because he emphasizes that. But what is it which makes one, not be able to open so much?
Is it a quiz, or do you know the answer?
No, I don't.
Ah.
I like to have my own, but there's always more. So
I don't.
I just was curious if your Guru Maharaj says about it.
I'm sure he does. I can't really remember. I mean, according to him, but I can think. Just from my experience of book distribution, we have the phrase ripe fruit and unripe fruit. People who are ready to receive it and people who are not ready to receive it. And what makes them? Well, there are many things make them be open. It can be just sukriti, something they did in past life. About what? Well, I said that I don't remember what he says particularly, but it's my own thoughts on that. I don't remember what he says. Wait, what?
To be open for suggestions. So it's not easy. At least I see in America more so than in Europe. I grew up there. We were talking to each other, but here just so hard to say anything to anyone, and including myself.
See. Okay, I know what you mean.
It's hard to receive any critical or any feedback. That's what I'm talking about. Receiving the feedback. That's what your guru also refers to. It's not easy to receive it. If hardly anybody, okay, can you tell me how can I improve? I remember I actually, it was one of my assignments during one of the workshops. And it was not easy for me to ask people, what do you think, what are the areas in my life where I need to improve, and to hear that feedback, to hear my faults.
Well, we have to ask someone who we trust and who we have relationship with. We cannot ask just anyone and expect that we'll be glad with the answer. Most likely I won't, because, if person already doesn't like me, of course he or she will say something which will increase my, not pleasant attitude to myself like that. But if you ask your friend or someone who you trust, like you have a very good relationship with Varshana Maharaj, right? Like you can always ask him, and you know that he is your well-wisher, and he is not saying it just because to mock you or something. He is just saying out of love, and I'm sure your receiving would be different from the person who would tell you you didn't expect that. Something, I remember Vaisheshika Prabhu says that once he heard this phrase, "I live to be corrected," somewhere on the radio, and I live to be corrected, yeah. And it's like a, motto of life, if you think about it. If something happens, and then you remember this phrase, "I live to be corrected," then everything becomes different in you. Like, oh, okay, this is why it's happening. I live to be corrected. It doesn't mean though. It still depends on the relationship and how deep you would take it. Humility attitude obviously should be always there. But still, some suggestions from. It's not like if you take every single suggestion from every single person who gives you suggestion, then it's like on the same level, right? Like deep into your heart. Then like how would you know who you really are? You just take suggestions from everyone.
Usually that's what happens.
No, yeah, sometimes.
We need to use our discernment if it's really, if it's correct what they are saying or not.
Yeah, it's always good to be open for suggestions and from the right people.
I think that's the statement. That's what your Guru Maharaj says. Live to be corrected, or how is he phrasing it?
Yeah, there's a phrase. I live to be corrected.
Yeah. That's not an easy attitude.
Yeah.
to
Fake it until you make it.
Yeah.
Start at least saying it to yourself. I don't know. It depends on many things. Obviously, we can be in different moods. Different things can happen to us prior to when somebody gives you this suggestion, and then you react differently.
But the bottom line is the humility.
Yeah.
And the pride.
The bottom line is humility and pride, Madhuri says.
It's the pride which is in the ego, which is, and other things too. But to just summarize it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why
Because it hurts. It hurts the ego when somebody says something not nice about me.
Yeah.
Of course, as you said, if it's somebody is a well-wisher, then it's easier to receive it because they wish us well. At the same time, it takes more to receive it from someone who just says it. But if I know it's true, then it's true, regardless of how they say it or what they say it.
Even sometimes.
Not what they say.
Even from not well-wishers. Like, I was in one situation where it was, it was so much blasphemy. And I was thinking towards, me. And then I spoke with one of my senior god sisters. And I asked, what am I supposed to do with this, And she gave me very nice advice. She said, you have to definitely think what she's saying. And think that, what if it is true, what she's saying?
Or how it can be true.
Well, like, what if it's really true? And see to what extent it's true in you. Because, I'm not a pure devotee, obviously, right? There are negative qualities and things like that. But then if I deny it right away, there is no growth in it. I'm like, oh, whatever, this person is crazy, I'm not going to take anything from this person. Like, outwardly, of course, you would act as whatever is needed to be done. But inwardly, I found it very practical to think, okay, to what extent she can be right about it, and then speak to some senior devotees. Do you really see this in me? Or this is like complete nonsense what she's saying? And person who loves you, they would tell you whether they can see it or not. These are my thoughts on